heard you had fun last month.
Boy.
No. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Noreen, you have a hug coming? Okay. First thing we got to do is, because Mark just can't wait, he wanted to make sure that we sang. It's a good time to get acquainted. It's a good time to know who is sitting there beside you and to smile and say hello. Goodbye, that lonesome feeling. Goodbye, glassy stare. Here's my hand, my name is blah, 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 blah. Put your hand right there. There. Tradition. Get over it.
Worse than usual. I was worse than last week. Last time.
All right, this is what's going to happen real quick today. Want to make sure everybody knew we're having good times. God, there's so much stuff to go over the last couple of months, but I'll tell you, this is one thing about politics. I've been having, anybody that's listened to the show know that I had a lot of people live from Tampa. And inside it, next week, a lot of the guys that are back are going to be on the show talking about the stuff that happened inside, what was going on, who said what, whatever. Mike Wasden just showed me an article, Bloomberg. It's an article they kind of, basically, it's Ron Paul saying the Republican Party is not his party anymore.
Good.
Now what?
Really?
Good. You know, so I'm going, yeah, well, is this like, shock anybody or something? I mean, well, how, So this is, a lot of people have come in and really did their best that once more into the breach. We're going to try. He's been 40 years of whatever and so on, and the Republican Party has done everything it could to make sure that anyone that supported him and his ideas were not welcome. And then they leave. Are you happy now? So let's see what happens. I have another tact. Okay, we're going to talk about the energy thing that's been building up for a long time. We started a new category on Previous Phoenix Battery Project. The equipment started arriving yesterday. I'm ordering big white lab coats in my, Einstein hair, and I'm going to be coat. This stuff I wanted to do since I was a kid. I used to have a little chemistry table that I'd play with and everything, and this YouTube, and man, we're going to have us some fun. I'll go over that if I got a little bit of time today. But the first thing is, I could not freaking believe that I conned Mark Victor into running for U.S. Senate. Okay? So, let me tell you how this came about. It was essential.
Wait a minute. How it came about is you said you were going to help, I remember.
Liar. I did. You're on the ballot. There. Done. Okay? Don't even start with me. Okay? This is what happened. There was a big press for Libertarian to have somebody at the top of the ticket under Gary Johnson. We had U.S. Senate races going. There were a lot of people that kind of, if nobody else would have done it, I might have felt compelled, maybe. But so I worked hard to try and find, so there were several people that we had in line that for whatever reason, they threatened their job. If you do this, don't count on the state contract or whatever. If you do this, it kind of really a lot of pressure. But what happened was, I knew that Jeff Flake was going to try and embrace this libertarian label that he keeps trying to wield like a sword. And the reason in 2004 that I ran against John McCain was because John McCain said he was libertarian in a Chicago Tribune interview. And I go, are you freaking kidding me? Oh, hell no. Okay? So I knew how important it was, especially with somebody like Flake, that I've known since '93. I can tell you all kinds of Flake stories. But the point is that he was going to try and, you libertarians, if you're voting, for the home team here. We find out that he's running against the Democrat. Now, Flake did win, right? The primary?
Yeah.
I assume. Because I don't care. The Democrat is a guy that was the U.S. Surgeon General in '02 or something like that. So he has money. I mean, millions. I mean, this is, this is serious concern, man. Democrats going, You'll get this what for. The ballot measure that they put on the ballot to, in the next election, future elections, you take just the top 2 vote getters regardless of party and so on. It was challenged off the ballot, off the ballot, off the ballot until after Marc gets on the ballot. He said, you know what? We changed our mind. You know, we just ruled, it just came out last night or something that it's back on the ballot. Okay? So all that back and forth, and I know Marc's campaigning, see, those damn little children, we better get this thing, find us a judge. Yes, boss, we're going to put it back on the ballot. Just happened. These campaigns have an effect. And what's happened is I'm going, look, if there's not a libertarian standard, voice, something there, and I'm not a big, you know, Gary Johnson's a nice guy and great and wonderful and everything, but I'm not big, exactly. I'm not a big fan of this fair tax thing, okay? He's out there advocating for a new tax. It's going to be hard to sit there and say, libertarian with this tax. You know, it's just, it's difficult, if not impossible. So what we're going to do is we have to have a libertarian, maintain a libertarian definition in Arizona. I called Mike first. I know he'd be the guy to call. And it was right after Marc had just got a not guilty verdict on 83 pounds of marijuana.
Yeah!
In the mail. Okay? Did you or did you not pull 83 pounds of marijuana out of that bag? Well, yes, we did. Who was driving it? Her. Not guilty. How did that happen? Marc Victor, that's how that happened. Okay? So he has a bunch of video. He has a bunch of cases. He has a bunch of articles. He has a bunch of radio interviews. He has people that know how to put web pages together. I'm going, look, you don't have to do anything. Fill out, for a federal race, he tried to do the state before, but it's a packet like this, a financial disclosure, you ought to know where all your money is, okay? For a federal race, running for U.S. Congress or U.S. Senate, there is no paperwork other than I'm running one page. Okay, he had to fill out the voter registration thing because he doesn't do that either. But anyway, so he does voter registration. He does the one page. He's on, all he's got to do is get 100 and whatever write-in signatures. He's on the ballot in the general election. You do that, take all the other stuff, put it up, let the people, whatever, love evolutionary, will make a big woohoo and have some fun, whatever. Then he starts getting interviews. People want to talk to him. He's like, oh yeah, baby, we're going to do a campaign. Ernie's over here, man. You go do that campaign thing. We'll go ahead and have some fun. I did my part, okay? But the point is that there is an opportunity here for a lot of entertainment and fun and getting some stuff done. Because now it's going to be probably by the end of this next week. I was thinking September 10th was the day that it begins, okay? And the reason is because that's the Monday after next weekend when all the challenges, everything's done. This is the ballot. These are the people that are going to be on the ballot. Pal Gamble is running for Congress that way too. So what we did is we created a thing called the L Factor, the lfactor.org. Tell you the story real quick, and then Marc, and we'll go until he has to leave. He's got another speaking engagement.
Do we do batteries today?
What?
Batteries today?
Batteries.
Internet.
Yeah, after he leaves, then I'll do my, thing. So what happens is we have the L factor is liberty, the determining factor, but it came about this way. Years ago, when the 90s, when I was county chair, they'd always blame the libertarians for whenever a Democrat won anything, okay? It was libertarians that did it. All those dope smokers pulled a bunch of Republican votes or something. I don't know how that happened. So that was there because they're really worried about the debt because they know they're just as liberal spending as everybody else. So they got a guilty conscience. What happened is there was a story about a astronaut. He's out, exploring space. He gets captured by some aliens. They go, "This is great for our little menagerie zoo. We put him in here. Look at the human." Okay. The entire planet he can't get away. He can't escape. He's in this menagerie because you know what? He starts worshiping a paperclip or something. Okay. And what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, I'm sorry, man. Our species, we can't be contained. So anybody that captures us like this, bad juju on you, man. You're jinxed. You're bad luck. Whatever happens, all bad things are going to happen to you. And sorry, that's just the way you are. All of a sudden, anything that happened bad, the entire planet, get him out of here! Let him go! Get him his damn ship and get him out of here. My mother-in-law caught me, whatever. Okay? So it was the X factor. It was in their own head. They created this thing in their own head. So we go, oh, we'll do that. We'll call it the L factor. We don't just get inside their head and go, yeah, you're going to lose because. So we created this site and we put all the candidates on it. Now it still has the old one reconstituted and just switched it over to yesterday. So Kilsky finally flipped the switch after, whatever. So what happened is you put all the candidates there, no endorsement, no nothing, other than that, they're libertarian. And we put them up on there so the press has a place to go. Because they always complain, well, we couldn't find a count. We didn't know where they're, blind and crap. Oh, here it is. And we put them on business cards, flyers promoting the L factor. This way I get to do whatever signs and stuff I want, like 4x8 signs everywhere that says, shut up, government. I saw what you did. Well, what'd they do? What'd you see them do? I don't know. What'd you see them do? Because everybody saw them do something, okay? Shut up. I saw what you did. So that might be one. There might be other stuff. Now the campaign needs money for them to do the actual campaign signs. Got Astrid Campos, Andre and Astrid, they were regional guys for Ron Paul and so on. Astrid, they're got experience on keeping him out of jail and fill out the right paperwork. Okay? So she's running the campaign, but they gotta have money for a campaign manager to get signs. So it's not a lot, but I mean, you need at least, $20,000 to $40,000, okay? So we're gonna do a party 2 weeks from now, right?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, 2 weeks from now, the 18th, I think it is, a Saturday. That's gonna be Randy Paulson's in Fountain Hills, right?
14.
The 14th? Okay, the 14th. Now this is, what we're gonna do is do that, the whole thing there is to raise money for this campaign. Now other people are running, Michael's running for stuff, we got Pal doing everything, but this is the one thing that's going to be the launch or everything, why? Because the definition of libertarianism has to be defended by somebody running as a freaking libertarian. Most libertarian I got is Ron Paul, and the party dissed him. We'll talk about that later too, but I want to get on this battery thing because I promised that.
Hey, don't we still have Rand? Just kidding, Ernie, just kidding.
So already it hasn't really started yet. They're just getting all the web pages done, everything's set up. You want to see a bunch of Marc signs, that's it. You just want to drive to his site so that you can see the videos. Him arguing before a judge on video of why putting this guy in jail with mandatory sentencing, daylight, babysitting my kids, more than I would have you, Judge, babysitting my kids. So this is the kind of campaign that they want to avoid at all costs. They did not see this coming, but it's here. Marc Victor.
How do I set this up for a short guy?
Undo the.
Oh, bottom.
It'll work. There you go.
All right, perfect. Everybody hear me okay?
No.
Not working. Come on, Ernie.
You loosen it and then tighten it.
That thing didn't work last week at all.
Go to the gym or something.
I mean, last month.
Everybody hear me okay?
No.
Yeah. It's not on?
It's on, there you go.
Oh, that's better.
Well, first off, thanks for having me come speak here. It's always a pleasure to come speak before this group, long-standing group. I've spoken before this group many, many times. How many people have never heard me speak before? Show of hands. All right, well, there's a few out there, so I guess I'll introduce myself. My name's Marc Victor. I'm originally from the Boston area. Moved out here in 1989. And other than law school, I've been living here ever since. Joined the Marine Corps back in, actually joined in 85, went to boot camp in 86. That's where I went to Parris Island there. Joined when I was 17 and 2 weeks old. I was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps as a sergeant, served in Operations Desert Storm and Desert Shield. Lived in the front by the minefields in a hole, eating MREs for months without a shower. Graduated ASU in 92. I majored in Justice Studies, where I graduated summa cum laude from there. I was always interested in the criminal justice system, always wanted to be a criminal defense lawyer, as long as I can remember. And I have owned and operated my own law firm since 1997, and I'm actually really proud to say that I've created lots of jobs. Over the years, I've employed many people full-time. Currently, I employ 9 people at my firm full-time in lots and lots of part-time jobs as well, and I'm actually very proud of that. So I've been a criminal defense lawyer since '94. I've represented thousands of people, probably several thousands of people in major felony cases, everything from first-degree murder with the death penalty alleged to trial on several occasions, all the way down to the smallest little crazy misdemeanor ordinances, which we constantly get. I've done state, federal cases. I also represent people out of state. I picked up a case last week in Nebraska. And I've also done lots of appellate cases. Like Ernie, I've argued before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco, and I've won there. And I've been a state bar certified specialist in criminal law for the past 12 years. But I think more importantly than that, I've been a freedom activist most of my life. As proof of that, if you looked at my high school yearbook and you looked where it said, "What's your life's ambition?" mine says to be a United States Senator. Absolute truth. In fact, when I was 15 years old, cooking at the International House of Pancakes, I used to give speeches to people about how I was going to change the world by running for office and trying to be the President of the United States. And Mike Wasden here, who listened to many of those speeches back when I was 15, was going to be my campaign manager. I also started this thing with some guy named Ernie Hancock called the Freedom Summit, which I'm very proud of. We brought lots of speakers to town, freedom inclined, hardcore, real freedom inclined, libertarian type people who understand the nature of freedom. We did that for many years. I've been on TV a lot, been on the radio a lot, quoted in the newspaper many times. Used to do a show with a great man named Lambert. I don't know, anybody here remember Lambert? Probably not. I know Ernie does. We did a show called Discover Freedom on KFNX. It was run for a while, and it was what I would term a pretty hardcore pro-freedom type of a show. I've given lots and lots of speeches. I speak to Marines, people getting ready to join the Marine Corps, veterans, prosecutors, police officers. I'm happy to speak to the other side. Gun guys, speak to lots of gun groups, students. My firm, my law firm, I make it no secret that I use my firm to promote freedom and to be an activist. I've hosted fundraisers through my law firm for Ron Paul, for Barry Hess. We probably did something for Kielski. If not, I'm sure we will and should. I've organized and attended lots of freedom-related discussion groups. I've supported financially other pro-freedom organizations. I've got lots and lots of articles that deal with freedom issues. My positions are pretty clear. I'm the only lawyer who speaks at the Crossroads Gun Show, not because I'm the only lawyer who wants to, I'm the only lawyer who's allowed to. I give a speech at almost every Crossroads Gun Show about the rights of firearm owners to pull out their firearm. And now I'm running for the United States Senate for the first time in my life ever for any political office. But I think I can say with absolute certainty that I am unambiguously and uncompromisingly for freedom in all areas. There's no mystery about my politics. Nobody has to wonder about where I stand or what I'm about. It's pretty easy to find out how Marc Victor stands on the issues. I always come down on the side of freedom, and I've been on that side for decades now. I haven't changed any of my positions. I think that free people are in charge of themselves. That's the essence of what I believe. I think individuals ought to run their own lives. It's not really that complex. I think that the government has one function, and it ought to be strictly limited to that function, which is to just simply protect those rights, to protect the rights of the individual to run his or her own life. And I say this with a lot of pride, by the way, and I don't take this lightly. I'm an American. In a sense, that's true just because I was born here. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something much bigger than that. I think there is something special, or at least there used to be something special about being an American. I think when somebody stood up and said, I'm an American, that meant something. It was a big deal. And it's not just a description of where I live. Right? Big deal. Real Americans have an attitude about being an American. There's a certain attitude, in my estimation, about what it means to be an American. And I couldn't explain this to you any better than someone who I think I would be good friends with if he was here today. The third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, an American. Let me tell you what he had to say. He's brought a few quotes, because I couldn't hope to say it as well as Thomas Jefferson said it. Here's what he says. The two enemies of the people are criminals and government. So let us tie the second down with the chains of the Constitution, so the second will not become the legalized version of the first. Government big enough to supply everything you need is big enough to take everything you have. The course of history shows that as a government grows, liberty decreases. This might be my favorite one. No man has a natural right to commit aggression on the equal rights of another, and this is all from which the laws ought to restrain him. Doesn't that sum it up? When the people fear their government, there's tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. And finally, the one that I try to run my life by, in matters of style, swim with the current. Or just to update it, in matters of style, do whatever your wife says. But in matters of principle, stand like a rock. And that's what I intend to do. Stand like a rock for freedom. I'm not running for office to water down my positions. I'm not going to change my views on anything. I'm not going to change my views. I'm not going to water them now. I'm not going to shade them. I'm not going to be quiet about them for the purpose of getting one more vote. It's not me. I am what I am. I am what I've been for the past several decades, and I refuse to change. This American attitude I spoke about, that Thomas Jefferson spoke about, it's about the government being our agent. They work for us. We don't work for them. Their job's to protect our rights, and that's it. Americans are distrustful of government. They're skeptical of government. They don't love the government. Did you get that in the quotes from Thomas Jefferson? No. They're skeptical. They referred to government as an evil. Americans think they're in charge of themselves. Do whatever you want, as long as you don't interfere with anybody. That's an American attitude. Run your own life. Guns? We don't beg the government for guns. We don't try to justify to the government our need to have a gun because we want to go hunting or because we're a collector. No, that's not why the Second Amendment was there. Guns are there because we have a right to protect ourselves from everyone and everything, including the government, when it commits aggression. And sometimes they do. That's why we have a Second Amendment to keep and bear arms. People ask me sometimes, Mark, what kind of message is this going to send to the children if the government stops doing this or allows it? Do we really care about... It's hard for me to think of something more disgusting than Americans concerned about messages from government to children. Really? Are we really worried about what message the government's going to send to our children? That is not the job of government, and shame on parents who worry about what message the government sends to their children. That's the job of the parent. My kids are very clear about messages. They get them from me and my wife. I don't care what the government says. I don't want the government's messages. I don't need the government's messages. Americans don't look to the government for guidance on how to run their lives. Americans don't need the government to arrange everything for them, from cradle to grave. To me, that's un-American. That's just not American. You want to be French or European or something, maybe that's one of their concepts, one of their principles. But that's not an American concept. We're capitalists. We're capitalists. We like the free market. We like the notion of people trading freely without interference from the government. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with making money. That's an American concept. And Americans, we like to disagree. Shame on those people who say, and I hate it, they always get off to a bad start with me when they say, hey Mark, I'm so sorry, but I disagree with you about this. Don't be sorry. We're Americans. When did we become such wimps? How did we become such wimps? Americans can disagree, right? Are we big enough to handle that? Can we be politically incorrect? Is it okay? I think it's just fine to be politically incorrect. Speak your mind. You're an American. Shame on you if you're worried about what's politically incorrect. Then there's the Americans without the American attitude. They outnumber us. I hate to say it, right? I'm not going to be politically correct. They outnumber us. People who live here, they call themselves Americans, right? Because they live here, but they don't have any idea about an American attitude. They live in the United States, but they like and they trust the government. Even big government. Just fine with them. What would Thomas Jefferson think of that? They believe that the government knows what's best for you and your body, and your money, and your property, and your time. They think that your rights come from the government. You go to the government, you fill out an application, you say, please, someone in the government, could you bestow this right upon me? I'd like to have a gun, I'd like to drive a car, could I have a dog? Can I have a doggy license? How much water can I have in my toilet? These are things that the government tells you. All money is controlled by the government. They think it's their money, right? Yes. They might let you have some, and the Republicans and the Democrats are arguing about how much should you get to keep. And after all, in a sense, they're right, because the government prints it all up as recklessly as they choose, unconnected to anything of value, right? We've all seen on TV those printing presses loading out sheets of hundreds like there's no tomorrow. Just whatever the cost of the paper is to run the printing press. Government can regulate or outlaw anything. Anything. They think that's okay. They think disagreement's bad. They say things like, well, I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you. They don't like competition. They love socialist concepts. They're into political correctness. Why on earth do they celebrate the 4th of July? The 4th of July is not a happy time for me. Now don't get me wrong. I love the Declaration of Independence. It's one of the most boldest, courageous, unbelievable things that any group of humans have ever done since there have been humans. Really? Did they really get together and sign this Declaration of Independence and send it to King George III and tell him to go shove it where the sun does not shine? Did they do that to the king? To the strongest military army on the planet at the time? Wow. They put their name in writing on paper. John Hancock, a guy as short as me, from Boston, a smuggler, signed it extra big. Extra big. I want to make sure King George III sees that my name is on this thing. We're having a revolution, right? We're going to overthrow our own government. That's what the Declaration of Independence was about. It was a treasonous overthrow of the government. They did that. Those were Americans. But today, We shoot off Fourth of July fireworks, right? The socialists who have no concept of what America's about. If you get your permit, and it's you can have the sparkler, right? You get a sparkler, you can Happy 4th of July, everybody. It's annoying to me. It's not right. I think if the founders were here, if John Hancock was here, and he saw the people celebrating that event, who support these types of things, these types of un-American things today, he'd be disgusted. I'm running because I want to do everything that I can to try to revive that American attitude. I want to persuade people any way I can to value and protect freedom, to even understand freedom. It's not just a word, right? Remember when George Bush used to throw freedom and democracy, democracy and freedom, like they're the same things. They're not the same things. They're different things. Freedom's a big deal. That's been one of my main goals as a lawyer. Everybody who's come to work for my law firm gets the same speech. Money? We want to make money. It's not the most important thing at my firm. I'm an activist first. My firm's a pro-freedom firm. That woman who I got off with the 83 pounds of marijuana, she couldn't afford my fee. She couldn't afford my fee. She came with a public defender. She had been found indigent. But she came to my firm because she didn't want to accept the 4-year prison deal. And she didn't even speak English. She had no way to hire me. She wasn't even a citizen. She was here legally. Not that I care. But she was here legally. But she needed help, and I couldn't turn her away. I had the discretion to accept that case for what some might call peanuts. She did pay to the best of her ability. We accepted that case. I could do that because I own my own law firm. I can defend guys like Shelton when they do stuff they need to be defended on. I can do that because I'm an activist first. We need to take our country back. When I say we, I'm talking about you. You're on the train. Shame on you if you disgrace Thomas Jefferson and John Hancock. If they were here, what would they say? What would they say if you're sitting around doing nothing and then you know? It's one thing if you don't know, right? You think freedom? Mike and I got into an argument with one guy at the gym sometime, and he said, well, I disagree with you guys, but I support true freedom. We said, what's true freedom? The right to do whatever it is you're supposed to do. Whatever it is the government says you can do. That's freedom. Look, if you're that guy, you don't even understand what freedom's about. I don't really hold it against him because he doesn't understand. But you understand. When I grew up, it was about Reagan and Gorbachev. Remember that in the 80s? We were all freaked out about the Soviet Union. We were watching and worrying about the nuclear standoff with them, right? Mutually assured destruction. It was a big deal. We were so worried about the Soviets taking over things with their socialist concepts. We watched them so intently that nobody was watching our back when our government snuck right up and ran right over our lines and took over our country. We were overrun by our own government. We need to put our government back in a cage, a strong cage, with lots of locks. We need to understand and promote freedom again. Ronald Reagan said a couple things that I thought were noteworthy. He said, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. He also said this. Republican Ronald Reagan said this. I believe the very heart and soul of conservatism is, who knows? Libertarianism. That's the heart and soul of conservatism. Do you think Ronald Reagan has anything in common with the Republicans of today? What about if you rewind it a little more and you look at Barry Goldwater? Would they even recognize the Republican Party of today? No. But I'm here to tell you something, because freedom isn't easy. I can promise you this. I don't know how many speeches I've given in the last 19 years or so to how many different groups. I'll speak to anybody. You're the socialist supporters of America. You want me to speak? I'm there. I'll come and speak to your group. But I can promise you this. I always can ask the same question and get the same response. In any group, raise your hand if you're for freedom. Everybody raises their hand, right? Everybody raises their hand. In every group, every time, everybody says they're for freedom, because there's nothing hard in raising your hand. That's easy. If you think freedom is easy, you don't understand what freedom's about. It's not easy. There's what I call the dark side of freedom, the hard part of freedom. Guess what? Not everybody's going to choose to use their freedoms the same way you choose to use your freedoms. Are you big enough? Are you man enough or woman enough? But let me say it like this. Are you American enough? Are you American enough to tolerate and accept the notion that other people may choose to use their freedoms in ways not only that you don't, but in ways that disgust you, in ways you disagree with, things you might find morally reprehensible, unwarranted, unhealthy, flat out wrong, but don't interfere with anybody else? That's the question about freedom that needs to be answered in your own head before you raise your hand in response to my question about if you're for freedom. I wrote an article about this. It's a short article. It's an easy read. It's back there on one of those tables. And it's entitled, Are You Really for Freedom? I think it's a 2-pager. Are you really for freedom? Because I want to know. It's one of the things my campaign is about. I want to know. Are you really for freedom? This is part of being an American to me. People might ask me any variety of, hey Mark, what's your personal preference about this or that? I find that to be kind of a dumb question asked to me. You know why? It doesn't matter what my personal preference is. I'm for freedom. What relevance is it to you? Unless you're one of my friends and you want to hang out with me on the weekend, then it matters. Because I'm going to do things that I like to do. But if you're asking me in a political context what my personal preference is, you already are telling me you don't understand my position. We all have preferences. What those preferences are is completely irrelevant to a discussion about freedom. Freedom is about tolerating, respecting the rights of other people to feel and act differently, so long as it doesn't interfere with anyone else. I'll give you some examples of this. I have a Harley Davidson. One of these days I'm going to get it back from the custom paint shop. Hopefully soon. Still not back. No. In Arizona, I got a choice, right? I could wear my helmet or I could go without a helmet. That's a freedom issue, right?
Absolutely.
What do I personally do? Does that matter? Does that matter to my position on the freedom of other people to control their heads as they're rolling down the road on their Harleys? No. Doesn't matter. Who cares what Mark Victor does? It doesn't matter. Whether I wear my helmet because I think you're a complete moron if you don't, or whether I don't wear my helmet because I'm happy to be a complete moron as I'm riding down the road, taking the risk of injuring my head, makes no difference to the question of whether or not you get to control your own head as you're driving down the road on your Harley in the wind. Or maybe you ride a Honda. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter what my personal preference is. Same with alcohol. Same with cigarettes, right? Doesn't matter. I hardly ever use alcohol. I never smoke a cigarette. Doesn't happen. Does that affect anything about my position on whether or not you get to use alcohol, whether you get to smoke cigarettes, as long as you don't bother another person, it's not relevant. You know, you would think everybody here probably knows my position on the drug war. It's the same position that any real American would have. Right? If you're not for the drug war, please don't raise your hand when I ask you if you're for freedom. If you're not against the drug war, I mean, I'm sorry. If you're for the drug war, you're just not for freedom. I'm sorry. It's just that simple to me.
You mean
But-
marijuana drug war or all the other stuff?
All of it.
All of it?
All of
Look,
it. What's the title of your article?
I have an article back there. It's entitled Legalize Methamphetamine. I urge you to read it. And don't be afraid of the title, right? Because if I think you get to control your body, I get to decide what you put in your body. I say, well, you know, marijuana, I think that's okay for you. Meth, no, I don't think that's okay for you. By the way, maybe Mayor Bloomberg in New York, he thinks sugary drinks are really bad for you. There's legitimate argument on that, right? In fact, I agree with him on that point. Big, sugary, buckety kind of drinks, those are bad for you. So why don't me and Mayor Bloomberg agree on this point? Easy to explain, right? Because I'm for freedom and he's not. It's that simple. I always get aggravated when I talk to the pot smokers. Why do I get aggravated when I talk to the pot smokers? Mike will tell you, it's always one of my most hostile speeches. I get in front of the normal group, and I usually start with, oh, let me guess, you smoke marijuana, so you're for the rights of other people to smoke marijuana. How enlightened of you. Oh, wow, you're really a big freedom crowd. You get it, right? Oh, you like marijuana? Me think okay for her to smoke marijuana. Boy, that's a higher thought process.
Exactly.
Then I ask them about meth. They say, oh my God. Some of them would react like that if I ask about alcohol, right? And if I'm talking to the Alcohol Drinkers Association of America, if there is such a thing, and they don't smoke marijuana, if I ask them about making alcohol illegal, they'll have a heart attack. Marijuana, no problem, because I don't like marijuana. I mean, does this strike you as a freedom position? It doesn't strike me as a freedom position at all. Can we say the same thing about guns? Can we say the same thing about gays? Right? I'm very not gay. If you ask me, I'll tell you, I have the most beautiful woman in the world as my wife.
You think you do protest too much?
Okay. I'm very not gay. But you know what? I'm the biggest supporter of do whatever the heck you want to do in your bed with whatever the heck consenting adult or adults you want to do in your bed. It is none of my business. It is none of my business. You want to do something with a prostitute? Are you consenting adults? Is it my business? Aren't these easy issues? What about religion? Oh my God, is Marc going to go there? Yeah, I am. Oh, everybody's a big supporter of people who are the same religion as theirs, right? Let's plow it into the government. Why not? It's the one true religion. But are you big enough to tolerate people who have other religious views? Or religious fanatics? Can we be big enough to say people who eat and sleep and drink their religion, whatever their religion might be? So I'm standing here in a nation where the majority of people are Christians. Okay, can you tolerate Muslims? Can you tolerate Hindus? Can you tolerate Buddhists? Can you tolerate atheists? Who cares what people believe, as long as they don't affect anybody else? What's wrong with that? That's an American position. Real Americans can deal with this. I always look at it as a test, right? I love it as a test. Mark Victor, raised a Jew. Can you represent the Nazi supporter? Yeah, I can, and I have. Does he have every right to state his views? Yeah, he does. Will I be the first person to fight for his right to stand up and say, I hate short Jewish lawyers from Boston who are Patriots fans? I will stand by his side. Probably won't give him a discount on what but I will stand by his side and defend to the death his right to say it, so long as he's peaceful. The second he steps out of line, the second he interferes with another person's right to define and pursue their own happiness, now we got an issue. That's what the government's for. That's what jails and prisons and criminal defense lawyers and prosecutors and judges are for. Little side note. You want to ride your motorcycle down the road without a helmet? Have fun. You fall down, go boom, hurt your head. You ain't got no right to force your neighbor to pay your medical bills.
But it doesn't work that way, Mark.
Why is that so? Of course it doesn't work. None of this stuff works this way. And the reason it doesn't is for one thing. They outnumber us. We haven't made the case for freedom. We haven't. We've been asleep at the switch. We need to make the case for freedom. We need to get out into the margins. We need to say, see this offensive person? Disagree with everything he says. Defend his right to say it. Disagree with how this person lives? Defend their right to live that way so long as they're peaceful. I'm not suggesting, by the way, that you should associate with people who do things you disagree with. I'm not suggesting you got to be friends with everybody. I'm probably not going to be friends with the white Nazi supremacist who hates the short lawyer Jewish guy from Boston who's a Patriots fan. We don't need to be friends. Associate with people who make you happy. These are the big leagues of freedom. These are the big boys and girls of freedom I'm talking to. I hope. So there, I've said it. Freedom isn't easy. Think about it the next time you raise your hand when I ask you the question, or when someone else who understands freedom asks you the question, like Ernie, or Mike, or Tracy, or Donna. They understand these issues. How do I know? Because I've been talking to them about it for almost 25, 30 years. Some of you get this. Nobody's got a right to trespass on anybody else, right? Why is this so hard? I don't want to fund anybody else's activities. I don't want to be responsible if they injure themselves. But they get to control their property, just like I do. I don't understand why this is so difficult for people to understand. I talk to the Tea Party groups all the time. Some of the people here were at some of my Tea Party groups. And they say, first of all, you want to associate with the Boston Tea Party? The Sons of Liberty? The people, the real Americans who threw that tea overboard because they wouldn't accept the 2% tax? That's okay. That's a big statement. You want to associate with that crowd? You better be for freedom or you're a fraud. Not all those people at those Tea Party meetings have any understanding of freedom. They sit there and say, I'm absolutely for freedom. As long as they do the same things I do. They got every right to do whatever they want. As long as it's the same stuff I do. That's not for freedom. Why is America a superpower? Did you ever wonder about this? Did we just wake up in the morning and get to be a superpower? I started thinking about this one time. Why isn't England the superpower? Why isn't France the superpower? For that matter, why isn't Egypt the superpower? I've been to Egypt. I've been to Cairo. They're really, really, really far from a superpower. They got people in Cairo still hanging their laundry out the window. Almost all the people. Cairo makes Rocky Point look like Scottsdale. They've been at it a long time. Much longer than the United States. Why are we the superpower? Did this ever occur to you? Is it because we're just blessed and we're wonderful and we love our children more than everybody else? No, it's not. You can believe that if you want. But the real reason that we're a superpower is simple. We've had more freedom than them for a longer period of time. We've had more of a free market. We've allowed our people to venture capital and to start businesses and take risks and go out of business if they can't make it, and make lots of money if they can. We've had more freedom relative to them. Our people are free to think and write and speak more relative to them. Freedom has served us really well. Why do we have, hopefully we still do, the best medical care in the world, which I'm sure we won't much longer. But why have we had that in the past? It's for these reasons. Freedom serves everybody well, if you could keep it. If you could keep it. But the only way you get to keep it is if people who understand freedom stand up to define and support and put the hard things out there. Go to the unpopular groups and say, do you support the rights of gay people to be gay? Do you support the rights of atheists to be atheists? Do you support the rights of meth users and crack users and cocaine users to peacefully use their drug? Now don't get confused, right? If you want to use meth or crack or marijuana or Starbucks coffee or anything and it affects your ability to operate your vehicle safely down the road and now you become a threat, a risk to another person, now we got an issue. I acknowledge sometimes meth creates those kinds of issues. But until it does, they got every right to destroy their own bodies. Why? Because they own their own bodies. And I respect the rights of other human beings to control their own bodies, to own them, even to abuse them or destroy them. So, are we the land of the free anymore? I mean, really? We could sing songs about it.
Hell no.
We could talk about it. We could tell our kids in 1st and 2nd and 3rd grade that we're the land of the free. And we could pretend. We could keep going down the road where we pretend we're the land of the free, if you like. That's not working out so well for us, by the way. I would say it's more accurate to describe our country as the land of the incarcerated, rather than the land of the free. And this isn't just my opinion based on nothing. These are the facts. We incarcerate more people in our country by far, either by raw numbers or by a percentage of our population, than any country on the planet Earth. How can we accept this and still call ourselves the land of the free? We lead the world in incarceration rates. Why? Because we're a police state. I'll say it. We're a police state, right? We have an unbelievable mountain of regulation, law enforcement officers, surveillance, and the government just keeps cranking out more and higher levels of technology ways to keep watching and listening and testing and checking. Anybody go through TSA recently? Try to fly on a plane? I've been through TSA. Well, I go through a lot. It's never pretty. I don't like it because I'm an American. Okay? But we let this happen. And I watch the endless parade of other people who live here who call themselves Americans. Government says walk over here for the radiation bath. Okay. Put your arms up higher. Okay. Put them low. Okay. Take your shoes out. Whatever is said, there's no question. Whatever the government says is what they do. Everyone is in violation of something. Everyone is in violation of something. Close to on a daily basis. I've been doing criminal law for, like I said, almost 19 years, and I still don't know all the crimes. People come in with crimes I've never heard of before. Our government is taxing and spending out of control. We have insurmountable debt, and the future of this country is right now at stake, and if we don't take it back soon, we will never, ever, ever be able to take it back. We will lose it forever. And if you think that the Republicans and the Democrats have the answer, you are mistaken. The Republicans and the Democrats are the ones together, both of them 100% responsible, joint and several liability. They're both 100% responsible for all of these problems. It doesn't matter if the Democrats are in, it doesn't matter if the Republicans are in, it doesn't matter which party controls Congress, it doesn't matter what they say, it does not matter. One thing we know for sure, that the Republicans and or the Democrats will continue to do what they've done, which is continue to increase the size and scope and regulation of this government. They will continue to destroy and erode the rights that you have left. They do not care. Don't be afraid of the L. Don't be afraid of the L. I know if you're an R or D, you're scared of that L. People who are L's must be from different planets, right? No. I got news. Those L's, they might have been R's decades ago, back when Barry Goldwater was an R. But the R's aren't for freedom today. Only the L's are for freedom. Only the L's. It is time for a revolution again. It is time. It's way past time, actually. It's time for an intellectual revolution. That's what the founders of this country thought they were doing. They weren't interested in violence. It came to violence. They didn't want that. If you look at their writings, what they said is the American Revolution was a revolution between the ears. That's what we need. We need to take back our freedoms, and there's no way we can do that unless we get our neighbors to have the same kind of intellectual revolution that occurred during the time of the American Revolution. They gotta understand freedom. That's why, that's the only reason why I'm running for U.S. Senate. The only reason why. I'm doing what I can. If I go to my grave and we still live in a police state, I'll go to my grave at least with the knowledge of saying, I did whatever I could do. I did whatever I could do to win hearts and minds. And if we can do that, I don't know exactly what's going to happen next, but if we can win hearts and minds and get people to understand what freedom is really about, whatever happens next will be good. It will be a positive thing. And if we don't, I fear for this country. Thank you.
Hell no, they're not going to let him in the debate. No. Hell no. Which is what they meant. We've been pretty lucky here in Arizona being real buttheads getting in on a lot of the debates. Now what happens is that when they don't, or if they don't, we're very creative. And I guarantee we get at least half the press. So this is what we're building up to. You can see why, well, then you guys can do this later. Mike, later. The one thing that I want to get that on video.
What happened to freedom?
That's true. The one thing that I want to make sure that you understand is it doesn't matter what the result is of the election vote totals. I don't trust them anyway. What happens is how many minds can you expose to this? How many minds can you free? When? At a time that the Republican National Convention took a neon flashing light and said, we're corrupt and proud of, okay? We don't care about you guys. We don't care about the freedom philosophy that he articulated. We don't care. You're free to do what the hell we tell you.
Yeah.
So this is, I can see where this is going. I know you have a lot of questions. Freedom's answer, what's the question? Next. So go to the website. It's Marc. It's Victor for Senate, number 4, right?
It's number 4.
I mean, is it FOR?
I think it's FOR.
FOR.
Victor for.
Victor for FOR Senate.com. Now, there's some stuff been passed out by Michael. He's passed out, say he's running for county attorney. You have Pal Gamble running for Congress. We got limited time, and I know a lot of people, I promised the main thing was I was going to talk about the battery project and so on, so we'll get to that. Yeah, I know that. Marc has to leave, so what I want you to do is go ahead and go to his website, because what will happen? It's videos just like this that's going to be on there. Everybody's going to go to and see this compared to what are they going to say that's going to compare with this. They go, yeah, but flake wore a tie. That's it. So I can see where this is going. We're going to have some fun with this, and you guys can too. But I'm telling you, I do not see government in general as a solution to anything, but it's an opportunity for us to express ourselves and also for you. No Pat, no questions. He's right there. He's got to leave.
Okay.
Go ahead and take off. You got to go. Now do the battery thing. Now hug on me. I'm gay.
Okay, I'm sitting down, Dad.
All right. I'm going to give you guys the half-hour spiel here on what's going on and why, and hopefully there won't be questions. I'm sure there will be. I was going to do a video presentation, but I couldn't. Somebody borrowed my digital projector, and I can't find it. So anybody knows who's got my projector, give it back. I remember letting somebody borrow. Do you have it?
No, I've got one we could have used if you told me.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know until this morning. I went to where it was. It wasn't there.
Over here.
Yeah, I let somebody use it, and I forgot who, and so I'm going to complain until I get it. Anyway, this is what's going on. You have to understand everything that Donna and I and Mark and I have known each other. Let me tell you how Mark and I first met. It was 1994. John Buttrick, that we just found out, was appointed as a magistrate to the U.S. Arizona District Court. He's now, let me tell you what his position is. The cases come to him, he kind of reviews them, goes over some work and everything, then gives them to the district court judges. So he gets to have first bite at their mind. You know what I mean? Now let me tell you what this case, well, I'll really rest on the constitutionality of and about of and kind of, instead, I mean, if somebody's going to do that for the district court judges, let me think, John. So this is going to change a lot of things. This is a very important position. It also means that he's on the way up. The trend towards libertarianism, Americanism, as Mark would say, has been going this way since I've been politically aware, certainly. And man, has it been resisted. A lot of you here remember me first speaking at the Breakfast Club as a young kid going, oh man, you guys don't get it. You get it yet. This is coming. There is no stopping it. And it has nothing to do with the Republican Party. The party is just backed away, and everybody's like, oh, fine, vaya con Dios. And they're going to take the presidency or not, and the same people are going to be in charge regardless. Irregardless of whatever happens in this election, the same people are going to be in charge. And we're going, you see what happened to gold and silver yesterday? Yeah. Boom! Yeah. It's gone from $26 just, I don't know, a month or two ago, up to just under 32 now.
Where's gold?
So 17, 16, 80, 90, whatever, it's going to be over 70, to the moon. It'll take another dump. They'll try, they'll keep pushing it down, they'll keep doing it. But sooner or later, it's going to break out. There's nothing they can do about it. It's called Federal Reserve. QE 483. I mean, they're never going to stop until they can't anymore. This is their philosophy. This is their solution. This is their cure. During the Republican National Convention and the Paul Festival the weekend before, there were people there. They went through, a bunch of the Ron Paul people just walked out. They just, we're done. Because it was obvious what they were doing. They had 6 states. They needed 5 for him to be nominated from the floor. They did allow 100 and something delegates to vote. Arizona got 3. Ernie, they're going to count 3 of our delegates. Ooh. States that were Maine and some that they just you're not being sat. It was so bad the governor of Maine refused to even go. He goes, now we're done. What do you think's going to happen? Why would they do that? There's going to be a reformation. We're going to have reform. We're going to fix it. We're going to whatever. Yeah, you're right. We got rid of those bad people. We love you a long time now. When Rand Paul endorsed Mitt Romney, let me tell you what that meant. That meant the Campaign for Liberty database went to the Republican National Committee. That's what happened.
Yep.
And then all you guys that donated and Ron Paul, that kind of stuff, I bet you got a Romney packet with a bumper sticker.
Yep.
How many of you got that? So, I'm going, this is, I already know where this goes. I've been screaming this is where it's going. What next? What's going to happen after the 2008 campaign cycle? What happened then? There were divergence. There are people that went the logical progression. What I keep telling you guys, I say it all the time, and it's like you think I'm just rhetoric and I don't really understand what's going on. And then it happens, you go, wow, how clairvoyant were you? How did you know? How did you not know? So what happened? You had a split. They call it voluntaristic. Everybody turn off their cell phones. I did mine, I think. I yell all the time, and then I don't do mine. What happened is that they went voluntarist. Even Ron Paul says he's a voluntarist. Now, a lot of people don't know what that means, but it means this. What Marc said, you do whatever the heck you want, and I don't care. As long as it doesn't bother my pursuit of happiness or my rights or whatever, don't care. Go. A voluntarist, a lot of times when you hear the old riddle, what's the difference between a libertarian and an anarchist? It's 2 or 3 election cycles if you're paying attention. And you got 2008, 2010, Tea Party guys go in and they voted to extend this and do that and beat up and take and police state and more funding and warring and whatever and say, next. Then you go to 12. Same crap. It was obvious what was happening. The biggest thing I got from some of the people that were there, I'm live from they're on my show and so on. They're going, we had no idea a couple things. One, the press did not believe that this stuff was happening this bad in the States. They didn't believe it. And then they saw it on the national stage, and they went, oh my God. You go, yeah, now you get it? This is what's been happening all over the country, everywhere. The other thing that they didn't believe is they had no idea that the Republican National Committee, a.k.a. Karl Rove, that they would be so blatant in their disregard of their own rules, making up as they went along, pretend it's all a show, it's all BS, that they would do it in the front of international cameras. They didn't anticipate. They go, they'll be on TV. Well, they'll get it now. And then they did it. Please, you guys can do this later. Are we done? When you guys are done, you let me know. So what happens is that we are now in a situation to where not only the media knows, but the people know that it is going to be done blatantly, in front of you, and with a faceless, nameless, no badge numberless, riot gear police officer that will outnumber us 5-1. That's what happened. They were going, it was because where the Paul Festival was at the fairgrounds there is where they had hundreds and thousands of police vehicles parked right there. That's where they staged. They're like, hello. So these people came, this was the calls that I got from Monday through this week. A lot of names you know. A lot of them been on the show, a lot of them are coming on next week. Ernie, you were right. And I made it very clear that it was made very clear to us, even by Dr. Paul and Campaign for Liberty and the campaign and everything, that they were there to try and take over and infiltrate and influence the GOP. We're going to save the Republican Party. And I go, that's going to be their effort. That's going to be what they're trying to do. And it's not possible. Then what? You were right. Now they're sitting there going, now what? We'll get them. Maybe endorse Gary Johnson. Maybe we'll get good guys like Marc to run for it. Maybe we'll something. Well, you advocate for freedom. Do it. But like Marc says, how many of you, we're for freedom. Liars! I can't emphasize that more enough. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I am sick to death of people telling how much they're for freedom, but we got to vote for, this guy, or this guy, because he's not as bad as that guy. I'm just I'm done. Done a long time ago. You'll see, I run for office, run for Senate. U.S. Senate against McCain. I run for Congress. I run for county recorder. I ran for Secretary of State. And all that time, I don't vote. They go and they say, Ernie, but you don't vote. I go, I'm so glad you brought that up. Let's talk about it. And then we do a little thing, why, and so on. They go, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Don't ever ask Ernie that question ever again. Okay? The reason is that they understand that I'm in this for up here. It's a revolution between the ears. When we did the Ron Paul Levolution, that logo was used in 06. We knew this was coming. What happened? It never said vote. You never heard me going all over the country ever say vote for Ron Paul. Never happened. think like Ron Paul, libertarian like Ron Paul. So the thing is that what's after? Last month's edition of the magazine was the theme. Can somebody close that door, please? The theme was what's next. And the logo, the artwork, the cover of the Freedom's Phoenix e-zine has our heroine, the woman, sitting on the planet Earth like the thinker. In space. It's a nice, graphic. What's next? Karen Kwiatkowski had just lost her congressional primary in Virginia, and Big Ron Paul supporter. She was a lieutenant colonel in the Pentagon, off special plans, knew what was going on, blah, 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 and great candidate. She had something to say about it. A lot of people had something. Good names had a lot to say about it. Larkin Rose definitely had something to say about it. So you get all these people writing their what's next. What are we doing next? Well, I already knew what was next. It's individual freedom of. You cannot be independent if you're dependent. Dependent on a system. Dependent on the actions of others. Dependent on laws being made. Dependent on law enforcement. Somebody with a shiny badge, a gun, a uniform, and a fine hat banging on your door saying your kids belong to the king to go fight somewhere or something. You are not independent if you are dependent or under the thumb of police state. And we're in a police state. I don't know, what's your definition? I get the big argument. Alan Corwin and I always get into this, and Eric Hofstetter, that's part of the Cartridge Family Band. So I get all the email, and back and forth. We're not in the police. Okay, Alan, okay. All right. You just tell me what your definition of police state is, and then when that happens, we'll say we're in it. Every year it keeps moving, because we keep going past it. And I'm telling you, we are in a police state. You don't believe so, say no enough times, you get shot, even for a parking ticket. Sign here, no. All right, fine. Well, here you just got it. Pay this, no.
Taser.
Now, we're coming in to get you, we're going to make you pay, I'm not going, no. Or you have to know, dead. I mean, you say no enough, you're dead on the smallest thing. The penalty for not complying with the orders of the king is death. In everything. Name something. Name anything. You got the man, sooner or later, they're going to come and enforce a piece of paper saying that you didn't. Well, I'm not going, bang. You resist enough, you don't comply, you die. That's a police state. When you can't do anything, you're surveilled all the time. Your video. The big thing about the camera fraud was not about so much as the tickets, which was an atrocious thing in and of itself. It was continuous video archiving everything that you did. They do a person of interest request, and it goes retroactively and tracks every car that ever registered your name with license plate that went whatever and facial recognition and so on. They have it on Facebook now. My kids, they load something up, pictures, all of a sudden it starts putting names on all the pictures. Are you freaking kidding me? Oh, but the CIA wouldn't have access to that. So what's the solution? This month's edition, Donna's putting it together now. It goes out, publishes Friday. The logo is our heroine standing there in kind of lab, and it's a big window out in a big lab with dials and stuff, and it's a big, and you see the landscape of this future city, and it's all great and wonderful, and you see little versions on every building of this big Tesla coil that's sitting right here. And the point is that, let me tell you what the future is. In Ernie's future, I guarantee you this. I look into Ernie's future a year from now. Ernie's got electrons. Ernie's got electricity. And if you don't, sucks to be you. Because I look into my future, and Ernie's got electricity. Because I got my big screen TV and my DVD player, at very least, and air conditioning. What's in my future? Electricity. Energy is going to go like this. But then it's going to go down here pretty quick, because as soon as alternative energy starts going, every time, I've been around long enough to see right when alternative energy starts to get a foothold, what happens? Oil plummets. And it's going to be after this election, or Romney gets in or not, doesn't matter. That Keystone Oil thing is going to go. Coal is going to start coming back because they don't have a choice. You're going to have, oil is going to plummet. The usage for Americans consuming oil is at its lowest in decades right now. They'll sit there and tell you about peak this and peak that. We did abiotic oil. I've been doing stories on this on the radio for a long time. They go to old oil wells, and all of a sudden they're filled up again. They go, what happened? Hydrocarbons is a byproduct of the crust. It is part of what makes the earth the earth. It is, it has nothing to do with dinosaurs. It's abiotic oil. Yeah, well, before you go poo-pooing it, do a little bit of research, okay? I am so sick. Let me tell you one thing. Peter Schiff made a good point the last couple of years. He said there is enough information out there now accessible to enough people that ignorance is not an excuse anymore. It is not an excuse. And when I say Generation Next, I'm telling every 8-year-old to 18-year-old with a Facebook and a curiosity and a question knows more than you guys have been around for decades. And I can't waste time on you anymore. We'll have these meetings and we'll do it. Let me tell you, you're just getting a kind of a head start of what's happening out there right now. You're getting to see what's going on. Because I'm not here to change you. I was these revolutionaries 20 years ago. I knew I just had to wait for you guys to die off. You think I'm kidding? I'm going, either you're helping these people or you are not. And how are you helping? You don't even have to understand it. You don't have to know the science. You don't have to know anything about it. You just have to know that Mark was right. Freedom is about anybody doing what the hell they want without you getting a cut of it. Or limiting it. Or saying what they can or can't. That's it. So what happens? I'll tell you the story real quick. It'll take about 10 minutes and then we'll get into it and I'll show you some things. Let me walk you through this. There are a lot of people that understand that independence comes from when you can go out and Donna and I went out Tuesday and Thursday. We planned this for over a week, 2 weeks. This is the time that we had in the afternoon after the show. Between Wickenburg and Sun City, there's a place kind of east-south of Wickenburg, about 10 miles, 95 acres for $150,000 with 5 mine shafts on it. It's an old mine. Deeded mining claim. There's another one, 95 acres, that's out, behind White Tanks Mountains going to Tonopah. So I'm going like this. I mean, what somebody, we don't want that. It's got mine shafts on it and everything. I go, that's a lot of tunnels I don't got to dig. I got me a root cellar. I got me a stashing cave. I got me some air conditioning I can pull from that. I go, hell, I pay extra for that. So I'm going to look at it. We're going, ooh. But what opens up that possibility that you're going to get power to that? What changed? What happened? So for the past couple of years, Donna and I have been doing chickens and goats and the gardening thing, issues on this, how to self-sustain, aquaponics, how to sustain yourself, how to keep breathing in and out longer than the bad guys, how to extract yourself from the system, because the revolution's up here. I don't give a crap what the government does. I just want to hide. I just want to be left alone. I want to go over here. I want to make sure that my family, my grandchildren, grow up to even have the choice to fight for freedom. We just need to survive this thing because it's going to crash. So what did we do in 2008? This is how it went. 2008, after 15 years of activism for freedom and everything, Dr. Paul, I knew he wasn't going to run away from the libertarian label. I knew he was going to embrace it. I knew what was going to happen. I needed to keep him up on that podium as long as possible, and I didn't give a crap whether you voted or not. What he said. Libertarian like Ron Paul. So we busted our butt, went all over the country, teaching people how to make those signs, express themselves, do everything outside of the party structure. Party, blah, blah, blah. I had nothing to do with that, didn't care. It was for people to understand the revolution up here, to embrace it, make it part of their being. The younger people did. En masse, big time, by the tens of thousands. The next generation does not include party politics. It's over. It's done. That's a relic of whatever y'all want to do. It has nothing to do with their lives. They don't vote, and if they are voting, they soon won't. It is over. Get over it. What next? 2012, as we knew, it was obvious that the silver market was being manipulated and that the dollar was going to go down. We took 2012 and I said, I'm going to do for 2012 what the effort I put in for 2008. We are going to advocate the use of silver as a currency, as a store of wealth, to understand the conversion, using the dime cards and the silver dimes and all that kind of stuff. That took off. They're now doing silver francs. In France, Europe, it's being translated into euros. They're starting to, the app is in iPhone and Android, and it's being done in conversion of gold. And we have also here in the United States, of course, with the dimes and silver pesos. It's already going worldwide. I'm good. I'm done. I'm going back to this. Because already there's competition for silver calculator applications in different languages, in different parts around the U.S. Other companies are doing it, and they're going, Ernie, they're ripping you off. I'm going, man, you don't get it. Open source technology is all about getting ripped off. Rip me off. Go, knock yourself out. One less thing I got to do. So I was waiting until after this election to even get started with what I'm doing now. My equipment started being delivered yesterday. I'll tell you what's going on. I go for 2013. What's Ernie doing 2013? After 2012, what's Ernie doing? Ernie's always got something to do. Right. We've been doing Freedom's Phoenix for 7 years. Doing the radio show since 03. We have the magazine. We've been in our, 15th, 16th, 17th edition. And actively everybody's looking at Ernie. Ernie, now what? And I go, let me tell you now what. While Don and I were doing the traveling around the country, we went up to Montana. Then we went over to New Hampshire, down to Texas and back. In in 6 weeks, we were on the road 5. So we go, all right, interviewing 3 hours every day, talking to activists and people around, people in the community, this, that, and they're advocating, come move here. No, you need to move here. We got it going on here. What about there? We want to move. Where are we going? Where should we go? What should we be doing? I want to breathe in and out. I see what's going on with my resources, my savings, my pension. Pensions? All you guys that worked all this time, you're getting ready to retire, baby boomers, you're retired now. I got this good pension. I really screwed the man, back in the day. I got, all the youngins when I worked for my government job, I got, it's good now. It's time for me to start collecting now. Gone. Pensions are being taken just boom all throughout Europe. All these riots, they don't tell you what they're really about. Austerity? Austerity is we took all your money, we're not giving it back, and you don't get any services. Get over it. You think that's not coming to the United States?
Yes, it is.
Cities and entire departments of police and fire, and they're just going away.
Yep.
They're just going away. And you don't get, remember what happened to the airlines, the pension with the airlines? The airlines had a backup federal protection kind of pays your pension thing. If it ever went, they go, we ran out of money, sucks to be you, it's gone. All these airline pilots that thought they were in the gravy train, I'm going to work for X amount for the military, I go work for the airline, I get my 20 years in, and I retire and I'm good. Oh, it's gone now. Happened in the mid-2000s. 2005, about it gone. Gone. So now we're getting into where are they going? Oh, no, we're going to save Social Security. We're going to save, we're going to save pinky swear. Romney comes in, I love Medicare and my grandma and my mom. I would never take away from the, it's gone. It's gone. No matter what they call it or how they're going to do it, or it's gone. The value of it is gone. So what do we do? While I'm on the road, I get a call. I'm yakking with Bob Anderson. You know him. He's a guy that I got to change. They didn't want to. Hell no! Don't let everybody say that again. Okay? Because we got a plan for everybody. All right. This is what happened. It's end of June or something like that. It's I don't even know if we made it to Pork Fest. It was about Pork Fest time. This is what happened. All right, pay attention. This is the money shot right here. We'll wait until you're done. Thank you. More money. This is what happened. I get on a phone conversation with Bob Anderson. He goes, Ernie, solar panels have dropped to a fraction. Sometimes it was up to, they haven't installed up to, they go by kilowatts, by how many dollars per watt, okay, are you buying this solar panel. It produces X amount of power. They go in watts per whatever, doesn't matter. So how much are you paying for this panel that produces X amount? And that gives you a dollar amount of the efficiency that you're getting in return for this. The solar panels you're paying about, for installed, it was getting up to, it's like $8 a watt, 10. It was a lot of money. But you live out in the Lone Prairie and they want $20,000, $30,000 to hook up, what are you doing? You're going, you know what? I'm going to take that, put it in solar panels, and you guys just suck it. Okay? So who do we have? Bob Anderson, what does he do? He's the supervisor at Palo Verde Nuclear Power Station in charge of changing out the core. He used to be one of the core guys, the glowing testicles and whatever, doing his thing. Okay? So now he's a supervisor, so he glows less. So he's out there taking care of this. He lives only 10 miles from the nuclear power plant. He moved out past it in Tonopah, so he didn't have as far to commute. He spent more time with his family. But 8 acres of out in the middle of the desert, nothing land, and he goes, you know what? I can do this because I'm a smart guy. I remember my high school algebra. This is what we're going to do. So he took and dug out a 10 10-foot hole, and he put cinder blocks in a 10-foot cube high. He put cinder blocks in there, poured concrete in the bottom, they kind of have a floor, poured concrete in the holes about it, put a floor on top and a tough shed on top with a trap door and a beam that went across to lower and raise the batteries. You open up the trap door and it's just a ladder that goes down to the bottom, 10 feet down there, and there's a battery bank down there. He put solar panels up by it, and he's got a little windmill. You know, for electric power, just because he was pissed off every time the wind would blow, and he goes, you know what, that windmill, I'm not as pissed off anymore. You just keep spinning. So he has the power. Now, he has a well. He has a septic. He has cell phone. He has satellite internet and satellite television. He is totally off-grid for 8 years, living in a 2,600 square foot house, a guest house behind him that his son was living in, and he has some backup generators. A propane that he got from Lompoc Police off of eBay. That was he converted it to propane, had to have a diesel backup. It automatically starts whenever anything, he doesn't do nothing, hands off, fill the diesel tank once a year or something, I'm good. But he still had to get diesel. So he's going, you know what? You can do biodiesel. There's jojoba beans or whatever from Argentina that grow in arid climates like this that produce it. You can just squeeze them out and boom, I got vegetable oil, biodiesel. I get that. At least I got some power. Sucks me, oh, and I need it. I'm out in the prairie and the power goes out, which it does a lot. He just turns on his lights just to be a butthead. He doesn't do that anymore. They say, hey, that guy over there's got lights, you know. So what happened is he's going, okay, well, I'm wanting to be able to even grow my own diesel. So he's thinking about that. He's thinking ahead, you know, let's got the seeds here. Maybe I might need that later. But then solar plummeted. China started making solar out the butt. All these big giant wafer making silicon factory stuff, making all kinds of power. And what are they doing? They're making all kinds of power, the solar panels, and the price plummets to where now David Fitzgerald, you know him as one of the Ron Paul guys, went to Tampa. You know, he's one of the, delegates. And I was talking to him, and he said, Ernie, there's a guy here who lives in northern Arizona. He said he got all his panels for 79 cents a watt. I'm ecstatic if I can get under $1.50. If you're willing to take blemishes and scratch it a little bit, $1. What is that? 1/8 of what it was a few years ago? It's so bad now that some of the big companies in China are going to go out of business because they can't make money they've just been dumping this time going, yo, now's the time to buy, rock and roll. So Bob doubled his capacity. Now he has enough solar panels that he can run 2 window shaker air conditioners. He can't still run the big giant one. He needs more cells to do that. But he can run enough air conditioning in 115 degree weather out in the desert in Tonopah with total solar everything, including air conditioning. So I'm going, oh, that's good. But there's a problem. Every 3 years or so, he has to change out his entire battery bank because lead acid batteries go bad.
Yep.
You buy 1,000 kilowatt hours of power. You can only use 500 because if you go below 500, it starts to degrade the battery. You have to replace it. It's like your battery in your car. Donna just had to replace the battery in my car. That's like 3rd, 4th battery in the past 10 years we've had in that damn car. You know, why? Because they like disposable batteries. You have to keep buying them. So Bob says, this sucks, man. I'm on my 3rd batch, thousands of dollars. I got to put that into my cost of electricity. And it goes, what the hell? Plus I got to buy 1,000 amp hours. I can only use half of it. Then he finds out that there's a thing called nickel iron batteries. They're called Edison batteries. Why? If you look it up, just put Jay Leno electric car. Jay Leno, he and his wife both have electric cars that were made in 1908. Thomas Edison took this car 1,000 miles across America on an electric battery that they kept recharging across the country. It was electric versus internal combustion. It was Edison versus Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan. That's what was going on. Tesla comes up. I thought all this Tesla stuff, Tesla. All this whole thing is you got a cathode and an anode. You know what he did? He made the Earth itself one of the poles. Got all this electromagnetic everything. All you have to do is have a coil, something that can take it from the air and is grounded to the Earth. Magnetic field. We got a big iron core. We live in a big giant ocean of electrons. That's what he did. I'm going, wow, it was that simple? Yeah. Why do you think they plowed over his stuff? Why? Because J.P. Morgan owned all the copper to supply the wiring for Edison. He's going, oh, you know what? We don't want Tesla giving free energy away because we can't meter it. So when you look at all the wars and everything over energy, it's been going on for over a century. So Edison created what they called the Edison battery. It was kicking butt, using mines, out in gold fields, where you have to have power stored, yada, 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 and you will them to your children. They don't go back. They're going 40, 50, 60 years. They have an electric car that's over 100 years old that's still working. When you start doing research on this, I'm going, where the hell did this come from? Bob says, I looked it up. What happened is Exide Battery in the 70s bought up the company that made these batteries and then took it and set it up on the shelf because you can't make money on something you never replace. Because Exide Batteries wants you to be buying some lead acid batteries. That's what happened. So I'm going, really? So as I'm talking, Donna and I are traveling across the Lone Prairie or wherever in the middle of the country. I'm talking to Bob, and I have this. I got it at a gun show because when you're going, you're out camping or whatever, I want to keep my phone charged and all this kind of stuff. Here is the entire pack. You got it, these little things, you hang it on your backpack, you put it on there, and you're just camping, you're hiking, keep all your stuff charged. That's what this does. Less than $100, 18% efficiency, most of them are like 13 when it's working. So what is it? You have the solar panels, you have the inverter is this thing right here, and it has an adapter that goes in like a cigarette lighter plug, and then it goes to the battery system. This is all this entire freaking thing is to be able to charge these batteries. There it is, right there. And all it is scaling this up to bigger. That's it. That's it. So, what about the batteries? I gotta keep changing these out after a while. I'm running my house on, I'm going back and forth. 2 years ago, I went to the Consumer Electronics Show because, we get passes because of press and all that kind of stuff, and I say all the right things, and I get a free pass to go to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. 2 years ago, I wanted to go there really bad. I went through all the crap to get this. I go there because Panasonic had just came out with a system that would have 7-day charge. When the power went out in your house, you could run your house for 7 days. And I go, in July in Phoenix? Maybe not. So I went and looked at this, and I'm going, all right, cool. We're getting there. The solar production, the efficiency of the cells, 18%, they're like, oh my goodness, we're in the teens. Or 18, we're almost breaking 20. Last month, they came out with a new cell, boom, 33%, almost double. Making the electrons is not the problem. Bob knows that, been living out, it's all good. It's the battery. So then I'm going, all right, nickel iron. You don't need to buy 1,000 amp hours. You buy 500 because you get to use all 500. Goes back up. Doesn't degrade the battery. Has a different chemistry. It's great, wonderful, 2 thumbs up, family, good fun. All right, fun. We do nickel iron. I can do that. That's easy. Start going on the internet, looking how you got cool, man. I go, but in the 80s, they discovered nanotubes. C60. Spheres of carbon that bonded to itself to make a ball, called buckyballs. So when you have carbon that's pure carbon, and it's a ball bearing on a nanoscale, you're talking some pretty slippery carbon. Now you have graphene. You got graphite, you put it in your little Pinewood Derby or your Soapbox Derby or whatever car. Why is that so slippery and it's carbon? Because it goes in sheets, and it only bonds, there's 4, all right, I'm going to give you some science here so you understand how simple this is. The reason diamonds are so hard and inert and non-conductive is because all the electrons are bonded with each other. You have a carbon atom that has 4 valences, okay? That's why oxygen has 2 valences. So what do you have? Oxygen and 1 valence hydrogen, H2O, water.
What's a valence?
Stop it.
To be stable, an atom wants to have its electrons shared because it doesn't, it's called a valence. It's not complete.
Okay.
You know, it has an extra one, or it needs one, okay, to balance it out. Or it's an ion, it's charged, or it's, you know, a positive or negatively charged particle, like I said. But everything wants to be in equilibrium. So you have a valence, each atom, that's what makes molecules. Now you have inert atoms, like the noble gases, which are nitrogen, helium, argon, so on. They don't react with anything. I'll give you an example. Here's a little chemistry. Fluorine is enormously reactive. So let's say you have a fluoride. Toothpaste, we want you to get fluorides. Yeah? What kind of fluoride? Yeah, just fluorides. Well, this fluoride is very dangerous. You know, they wouldn't put that kind of fluoride in your drinking water. I had this. It was CD. See, oh, no. As long as it's not hydro blah, blah, blah fluoride. You know, me and my son did a freedom of information when we had our restaurant, and in the summer, just keep him busy. Hey, we'll do the fluoride thing. We'll just do a report, keep his mind going. We do a freedom of information request to say anything. Sure enough, that's the kind of fluoride they were putting in. I'm going, now what? I got that on contract. That's what they're paying. They're paying people to put this fluoride in our water. Why? Because that company is just they're just toxic waste, you know, eliminators. They go to different industry. They get paid to do it. Then they're getting paid to give it to you. And the thing that I found out, though, the fluoride that they're putting in your water, the problem is that they were losing money to do it. I did the math. I'm going, there's no way that they could ship this from Texas, pay the driver, pay the gas, do this with this amount, and make any money. And I started to realize it's not about making money. It's about getting rid of the fluoride. Your kidneys is just a waste dump. Plus, it has a side benefit of, you know, other stuff.
Is that what you told me? Solution to pollution is dilution?
Yeah, that's what they say. The solution to pollution is dilution. That's what they're doing. So once you follow the money, once you start to see, then all of a sudden it starts to make sense. So when they say a fluoride, it is a very caustic, like chlorine. Chlorine is another one of these gases. Like fluoride, it wants to bond with something really bad. Carbon has fluoride. What do you got? A fluorocarbon, Teflon. That's why nothing sticks to Teflon. It's because you have an atom that really wants to bond with something that really wants to get bonded to. Boom, nothing sticks to it. Welcome to Teflon. Fluorocarbons. Okay? Then you have hydrocarbons. Well, hydrogen, doing the same thing. What do you got? Oil. Kind of plastics and so on. This is basic chemistry. So what happens is they took and they said, you know, nanotubes, they created them in a lot of different ways. A lot of times they took graphite rods, pure carbon rods, and they put a big electrical impulse in the charge, and it went from one to the other, and this carbon ash that was in there, that was nanotubes, 1980s. And I started, as a young man, reading these stories, these articles in science magazines. I told you what I'll tell you what my imagination saw. In the future, it was very clear to me that you're able to make things like diamond paper. Sheets, very thin, that you put out, and you put the weight, a pencil on it like this with the weight of an elephant, and it holds it up. That's what I'm talking about. They're talking about space elevators now. They're going, space elevators, they take and they anchor carbon nanotube cable to the Earth, and it goes 26,000 miles in a geosynchronous orbit, follows, and it's just an elevator. You go space, back and down like this. They're doing a Kickstarter now. They said that for a test, they're going to do it for the moon. A space elevator on the moon goes up. They say, we can already do that now. We're doing it. Here we go. You guys never even hear of this stuff. You have no idea. You don't know there's 2 private space stations in orbit right now. Genesis 1 and 2. Some of you that have been here before, you know about it. But I'm telling you, you have no idea. They don't want you to know. So what happened was, with this, I could see my kids are growing up. And I'm going, look, it's like in The Graduate. I remember that one thing. He pulls Dustin Hoffman off to the side. I got one word for you.
Plastics.
You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Well, I got one word for you. Nanotubes. And I saw this in the 80s, and I knew what it meant. It meant that there was going to be materials that makes everything extremely light, extremely strong, and the energy usage was going to be a lot less, and it's self-assembled. So I did this. I'm talking to Bob. He's doing the nickel iron thing, and I said, you know what? Nanotubes are superconductive, way more than copper. You know, I'm just going, oh my, why? Because in the sheet, when it's flat, graphene paper or nanotubes, it goes into a circle. That's what a nanotube is. And it's only 3. It has 3 bonds, and the 4th one, it kind of sits up and it just shares in this kind of field that goes, which has a free electron. It doesn't really want to bond to anything because the carbon atoms are close to number. It's kind of sharing its electrons. So it has the ability to be very conductive because electricity is the movement of electrons over metal. It has extra electrons. That's what makes it conductive. So all of a sudden now you have this nanotube that has a free electron just sitting there just waiting to get bumped off somewhere. Boom, almost no resistance or heat. Okay, all right. I'm starting to understand the science of this, how this works. So I was always wondering, nanotubes, there's only 3 valences. What happened to the 4th one? Oh, that's why it's superconductive. And it's also like a cushioned field, so when you have graphene paper, it's just a 3-bond, just a flat sheet, they glide on each other. That's why graphite's so slippery. It's those fields. Okay. So I go, I'll bet you, while I'm on my computer, sitting in the passenger side, Donna's driving, I'm talking to Bob, and I go, nickel, iron, nanotube, enter. 2 days before I searched, Stanford University did exactly that. Super magnet. All of a sudden, this was just in June 20th or something like that. In June, they just combined the 3 to where they found that they got enormous increase in density, energy density. It charged in minutes, discharged in seconds. You have a battery now that was just good before, kind of heavy, good for mining or house, and kind of slow, and it remains stable, and you didn't have to replace them. All of a sudden, it's a super battery. Why? The reason is, 1, because you don't have to keep replacing it all the time. But the nanotube, being superconductive and so on, has, good transfer electrons and so on. That's good. But that wasn't the reason. I'm going, all right, so what's the science behind it? I go, yeah, I knew that. Oh, here we go. This is what happens. Nickel is used to plate. Nickel plating, nickel bumpers, chrome. Nickel's a big plater because it fills gaps. I mean, it's just, it's nice and shiny, okay? You get nice, shiny nickel plate. Well, that reduces surface area. The shinier something is, less surface area you got. You got something all pitted and dull and stuff that's got a lot more surface area. So what do? If you got a bunch of nanotubes, there are billions and billions, hundreds of billions of them on it, if you took the base of a nanotube and made it 1 inch, it'd be 2 miles high. So what happens when you take nanotubes, make it into a thread or whatever, or there's a lot of different ways to do it, but if you take that and you start plating it with nickel, how much surface area do you have? When you do activated carbon filters, you keep hearing about, I got 3 acres of surface area to filter my water and my carbon, whatever. Now take that 3 acres and cover it with nickel atoms, and all of a sudden you got a lot more surface area. You starting to get the picture? So what do I need? Oh, I'm a nanotube needing son of a bitch. I need me some nanotubes. I want to buy me some nanotubes. I get home, I'm on a computer, where be the nanotubes?
That's what I'm wondering.
It's been 25 years since they started. Where's my freaking nanotubes? They're right over here. China's making them. Got some U.S. company. Right? It's $160 a gram. It's the weight of a paper clip. That's 3 times the cost of gold. $160 a gram. Now I found the others, it's $100, but we don't guarantee you whether it's a single wall, all this kind of stuff. And I go, are you freaking kidding me? 25 years ago, when I'm looking at this before and seeing what they were making them and how they made them, it was $30,000, $40,000 for the furnaces to make these things. But then, another reason why I love the Chinese. For $2,300, I buy the tube furnace to be able to make these. Okay, how it does. I started getting the equipment yesterday. I may get the furnace today or by Monday. It's already been shipped from California. Let me tell you what's going on. My sons, because I've been preaching this all this time, they're still going to college. Of course, he'll probably get his degree in about a year. He's 24. He works at Honeywell Aerospace. He's a supervisor over like 30 people. He's 24 years old, making over $70,000 a year. He's got 3 kids, beautiful wife, house, and everything, and he's just bored to tears. He's like, how many more toys can I buy? What can I do? My other son works at Honeywell Aerospace too, machine, putting turbines together, doing kind of whatever. And while they were there, all these 8 years that they've been there, how long is it? Yeah, it's like 6 years they've been working there. And I go, you working on graveyard shift, I go, you guys learn every freaking machine. So they have computer-guided mills in their garage, lathes, all kinds of equipment. I can do whatever I want. I said, I need a boom. He does the CAD thing, I was like, go make it. They've been using this equipment at Honeywell Aerospace for years. They do it because they heat treat metal. They got turbine blades that have to work at 5 billion revolutions a minute and certain temperatures and heat and whatever. And they got that. We do this all the time. Atmosphere of blah blah blah, doing with the heat of blah blah blah, the virgin of the blah blah blah, the blah blah blah. Didn't you know that, Dad? Okay. So I go, I don't even know what to call this thing. I've been looking for it. I didn't even know. I couldn't find the furnace. I'm like, what the hell? They go, Dad. You call it tube furnace. Oh, okay. Good thing to know. Tube furnace. Boom! Holy crap. Which tube furnace do I want? Okay? This is how it works. They try and make it more complicated than it is. This is how simple it is. You get a furnace about the size of this desk, about this high. It opens halfway like that. You have a semicircle here and a semicircle here with the heating elements that make it really hot right here. So what goes here? A quartz tube. Looks like glass. You just put that bad boy in there, close it, 1,000 degrees Celsius, make it really hot. Cool. What do I not want to make hot? At the ends you have manifolds that you put gases in. You just click it in, gas. I got helium, which is a inert gas, doesn't react, it creates an atmosphere so you don't get all kinds of reactions with whatever. Helium's going in, purging out all the air, getting all that kind of stuff out. Then, carbon dioxide. At over 600 degrees Celsius, what happens to carbon dioxide? The oxygen unbonds with the carbon. Now I just got pure carbon that's going, I got 4 valences, man, I want to be bonding with something. What would I be bonding with? Boom, itself. It starts on a little catalyst, this little piece of metal you got sitting in the bottom in the middle of this furnace, and it just grows in hours. Forests of nanotubes.
Oh, wow.
So I go, with what? Carbon dioxide.
Wow.
Okay? So then what? Well, I gotta use it somehow. I gotta like take that plate and I just put it in. It's kind of fragile, you know, but not really. I can take and squish that down 80% and it springs right back to what it was. This is amazing material. 25 years I've been waiting for these guys to get off their ass. I'm not waiting anymore. I don't have to. That's what this edition of the magazine is about. What happens when individuals are able to sustain themselves, including power? It's a philosophical question because it's coming. It's going to happen. That is my 2013 thing. But my son Corsair is going, well, how are you going to play it? How are you going to make it more robust? How are you going to, I don't know. Let's do some more research. What they found out is if you take a little piece of tape and you grab one of these nanotubes and you pull it, it'll just take the whole sheet and it has like a diamond of carbon nanotubes just coming off into a thread that you spin. So what do? I got me some little Amish kids coming over, man. Get your butt over here and spin me some nanotubes. So sure enough, they come up with a device. That's it. They pull it, get it on there, and it's just spinning thread. You can't even hardly see the thread. You go to freedomsphoenix.com right now. You go into the archive at the top, and you go into contents listed by subject, battery project. Or you just do a Google search. Battery project, Freedom's Phoenix, boom, there it is. I just keep throwing stuff up there. Where do I get the raw material? Where do I get the carbon? Where do I get the iron? Where do I get the nickel? How do I order this? How do I get the electroplate? I got to get what do they call it? A rectifier, which is a glorified battery charger. You know, that you tune and everything. I got to charge it on. I got to take the nickel and put it on the nanotubes. How do I put it on the nanotube? What structure is the nanotube? Of course, there goes, well, this is what you do. You take and you spin that. You wrap it around. You make it a spool. You put it around a plate or whatever, and then you just charge and the nickel goes on to the nanotubes. Why? Because it has enormous surface area. Crap loads of exposed nickel. Not a nickel plate. You know what they do with the nickel iron batteries for Edison? They put little dimples in them, to give it more surface area. I got them a billionth of a nano size that atoms are going on to the carbon, sitting there, all this nickel just throughout, saturated. And what, one guy did, he's already way ahead. He's not using nanotubes. He used nickel steel wool. And he had it all, he charged it, got it all plated with nickel and everything, and he put it in a arbor press that I have, and we just squish it down into a cell. It looks like a Brillo pad. Just condensed, cells in this one little square that he squished down with wires in it and everything to get the charge. And I go, ooh, that's increased surface area. It's better than a plate of nickel. Now you got surface area in just a little square that looks, like half the size of this. Oh, then he does it with the iron. And you know what he wrapped it with? Just fiberglass, when you repair boats and you put the resin in the fiberglass. Fiberglass, it's very porous. The electrolyte goes through it. It keeps it insulated, separate, it's glass. He just wrapped it in, wrapped the other one, wrapped it in the big thing, put it in, mason jar tube, boom, battery. Done.
What's the electrolyte?
Potassium hydroxide.
KOH.
Right. Okay. So, but that's another thing. There's the different things you can add. It's going to be fun. So you know what's the first thing that I do? I see how much fun I'm going to have. I already know that I can make the cell. I already know I can make it better, just a little old me, than Thomas Edison ever did. I know that I can do it. And with nanotubes, I get even more surface area. I know I can do this, so what am I doing? First thing I do, I go out and say, I know what I need. A really cool lab coat. With a nice logo on it. Getting me a Einstein wig. And here comes the videos. That's what I'm doing. As what? As though I get the batteries in the future, Ernie's got electricity because I'm making it. Yeah, I'll make sure that I got the solar panels. I know they work. I know that the nickel iron, is going to last me. It's cool to know this kind of stuff. But that's not the point. The point is what I always do is the inspiration for other people to do it. The inspiration of the thought process of people understanding that the future belongs to us if we don't wait on somebody else to do it. That people are already doing this stuff. That it's infancy, it's just starting. Hell, I could get rich just freaking making the nanotubes. $160 a gram? Hell man, how do you think I'm going to fund this? So I'm like, look, it is not, and we put articles up about open sourcing. How do you open source something? Everybody go, yeah, it's called spontaneous order and all that. You can't, you got to have control. You got to have people in charge. You got to have a committee. You got to have a board of directors. You got to. No, you don't. And this next generation, they don't even know what you're talking about. It's called open sourcing. And I go, how does that work? Look at the Levolution. That's exactly what happened. Who was in charge of the Levolution? It went a year before they even knew that I created it. On purpose. It wasn't until Brian Doherty wrote an article in Reason Magazine that outed me as the guy behind going around pushing this thing and did the logo. Until that time, people just thought it was just a peace symbol. That's exactly what I wanted. Same thing with this battery, or just the concept of energy. I'm going, your goal, and they're going to lower the price of energy. You're going to see gasoline, natural gas, it's going to plummet like you wouldn't believe because they have to maintain control. They always do what they've always done. And when that happens, people are going to go, man, we dodged that bullet. It's better now. Peace, and gasoline's 99 cents again or something. But the dollar's going away so bad that I don't even think they can do that anymore. Maybe around the world it'd be cheaper. The dollar's done. Now, the weight of silver and gold, it may, get cheaper, but it has. But, the silver, it going up like that doesn't mean that all of a sudden, silver's worth more or something. It's the dollar's worth less. So what happens? When they do this, my goal, this is my goal 2013, so you understand that there's a reason to my madness. All of this effort, all of this creating this, all of this doing it, all of this being able to make it and produce it and use it and show it and all that is not just about Ernie gets to have electrons because I think I'm going to make them. Ernie gets to have electrons because everybody's making them. And the reason is because it's a moral decision. It is a conscious decision in your mind that you are not going, I don't care how cheap the energy is, that you are not independent. You're going to be dependent until you understand how it works, that you can do it, and that you got it and you're off their system. because I had one thing that it all came to fruition. I'll finish with this story so you'll understand. I'm doing this as an inspiration, but I could see what we were up against. Big bad guys doing all the stuff they always do, RNC stuff and everything. While we were on the road in June, some of you may remember this story. There was a guy, he goes in with, now they have, when they give welfare, they have it in a card. It's a Visa card. It's done by Citi or Chase or whoever the hell it is. Who is it?
Chase.
Chase has a card. I get my welfare card, little Visa on it. I go use it at the store. Every month, I don't get a welfare check anymore or put in my bank account. It charges my card. This guy goes up to the convenience store. I want this pack of cigarettes. Or carton or pallet or whatever the heck it was. I want my cigarettes. The clerk goes, no, I'm done with this. She's like, I'm tired of paying, my tax money for you to get cigarettes. Nobody else here wants to make a big show out of it. We're not paying for your cigarettes. You think I should give you cigarettes for my money? Yes, I do. She gets fired. He gets his cigarettes. And I'm going, that's just bad PR. I mean, I don't know how you can rationalize that, redistributing from this over here, and the government hates cigarettes, we can't, but we're still subsidizing tobacco growers or whatever. Or you got all this kind of stupid stuff that's going on, but he needs to get his cigarettes, and we're going to pay for it. I mean, that's just bad PR. I mean, how did they get away with that? So I'm going, oh, it starts to dawn on me. What do they always want? If you don't have any idea, well, bring in a utility bill. As long as you're livestock on the grid, well, then it's okay. Okay? Because we know where you're at and you're using whatever. So then I start to realize, if I'm a wealthy individual, I got a lot of money and I'm doing okay, they're perfectly willing to take from me, that's mine, and redistribute it so that everybody, it's not just about food, so that everybody has an electrical bill. Everybody's using an air conditioner, refrigerator, and a microwave. Okay? And I'm going, oh, why? Because it's the same people. It's Rockefeller and Morgan. We're getting the cuts of whatever back then, and right now they get a cut of the actual transaction itself by using the card. Banks are happy. And everything you buy, consumer goods, electricity itself, food, everything has a big, enormous energy component to it. The most expensive thing in this stuff is not the raw materials, it's the energy to make it. So they need as many of the livestock as possible, consuming any and everything in addition to electricity, because it all represents electrical power. So if you want to stop feeding the beast that's devouring you, you want to occupy your freedom, okay? You want to be free of the blah, 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 whatever it is, you must understand that energy is what's enslaving you. It determines where you live, it determines how you live, and it determines who gets to make money off you living. It is no more complicated than that. And once I came to that realization, I'm going, oh, it's like Alexander Haig said, let them protest as long as they pay their taxes. Let them bitch as long as they're consuming energy. Let them do whatever the hell, all this ouch, quit it, distraction, we're going and I vote this guy or don't vote and now I'm freedom and this, said and rule me how, they don't give a shit! As long as you are, sorry kids, as long as you are consuming electricity. You see my point? So my whole thing is not just about how we're going to, because you can already do that. The solar is it's already happening. But it's the storage, and that's coming. There's new supercapacitors that they got. There's all kinds of different things, the way you can do that. But the point, and sooner or later it's going to be, and I know there's a lot of free energy. I had guys on my show, once I started doing this, I'm getting emails and letters and people coming by in studio and coming by the house, knocking on the door, and I tell you the energy thing, we had a party. A guy comes in, he says, look, and I've heard about this before. He opened up the hatchback to his car, and he goes, you see those two batteries? We're charging those for. But this motor daylight's called the yada yada whatever, and I go, that's very interesting, right there. What do you want me to do? I tell you what, I will spend years building a website for you to be able to tell everybody whatever you want to know in audio, video, or magazine form. Oh yeah, I already did that. So use it. Go. Knock yourself out. What do you want me to do? Do it for you? What happens is that I found that the people, the inventors of this stuff, they are their own worst enemy. And the reason is a guy named Joseph Newman, I had him on the show. One guy said, you gotta check this guy out. In the early 80s, during the first administration of Reagan, when all the energy stuff's going on, he wrote a book in '68 describing, blah, 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 it's a long story. But he had a machine that was taking energy from the atom, whatever the hell it was, long story, but it worked. Scientists all over it. Mathematician that's still a professor at ASU. He's all over it. Yeah, this is the greatest thing ever. Many scientists signing off on it. You look at the YouTube and it has CBS, NBC, CNN, and he was on Johnny Carson, sitting there explaining it, showing Johnny Carson's, oh my God, this is everything great, going to be spaceship. Done. Done! Then he disappeared. I'm like, what the heck happened? He's got to at least have it on his house or something, and what's going on? I find out the guy's alive. Donna gets him on the show. We did like 2 days of this. We're talking about different people around and so on. Found his book. They've been like purging it from the planet. Found it, got it PDF. We're doing self-publishing. Put it. He's all pissed off. We go, yeah, we give you the donation of the book. We don't care. We just want the book out. Boom. They're doing that. We're at Terran Lupo. It's writing books. Libertarian. Done. Open source done. 30 years, had your chance. He's all pissed off. Calls the professor at ASU, don't talk to Ernie. He's just going to publish all my stuff. I go, you had your chance, man. 30 years is my limit. Okay? So I go, what is the problem? How are you able to, what was the problem? I had him on. I go, I'm telling you, Joseph, I'm getting the impression that you're the problem. Let me tell you what the problem was. He refused to release this to the world because the United States Patent Office refused to give him a patent. I go, wait a minute, let me get this straight. You were looking for the very entity that's defending all these guys you'd put out of business to give you permission to put them out of business. That's what you were saying, right? What decade did you start to realize that wasn't going to happen? So this is what the kind of thing, they're almost, so what do we have? Open source. Everybody just does it. That's how, it's not just doing computer software and Linux and all that kind of stuff. It's a way of doing everything. So I've been embracing this with you. The Levolution was a good example of it. Decentralization. So the thing is that I could go down that road. There are a bunch of other machines, there are different ways of doing it, but I'm not wasting my time. Because I know that nickel iron is a good storage. I know that these work. I know that nanotubes gives you enormous more surface area. I know 2 days before I even looked, Stanford University just exploded all over, yet we just did it. I know that there's a big hurdle on the nanotube part. It costs a bunch for you to buy them. You can't. You do. I go, all right. Well, can I? I thought it wasn't that hard. I looked. I go, I can do this myself. For $3,000, I spent about $4,000. I needed to get a couple different, whiz bangs and and a bunch of white coats. Okay. So I'm going in right now. We're making it. My activism is this. Why? To empower what I've always wanted to do. To empower the individual and quit feeding the beast that's devouring me. Do you understand the reasoning behind it? It is not to get rich. It is not to make sure that I'm the one making it. It's to make sure that everybody knows how simple it is and everybody starts doing it, and I demonstrate exactly how it's done. From trial and error, because I freaking can. And I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not going to do what they did with the space race and wait until 2004 when Pal and I go out to see the first, private human being going up into space and going, how hard was that? You know what he used? He used liquid oxygen and rubber. That was it. It's a donut that has liquid oxygen, and it was a big plug. You know the yellow wheels on skateboards? You see guys going on skateboards? That's the engine. They put a cylinder of that in with a hole in the middle, and they throttle how much oxygen goes down that hole, light it at the end, rocket engine, done. Done. That's what did it. That's what I waited, my whole adult life on was for that, for them to use rubber. I'm not waiting anymore because I'm not an idiot.
Okay, just to make sure, because I'm a little.
For you to make.
But I'm so
He's
slow.
trying
I'm
to
not
tell
sure
you
I
that he's
could
gonna
make
make it for you and make your own.
I'd rather he made it and I'd give him something.
I know.
No bartering, no nothing.
Welcome to the new world, man. Get over it.
Yeah, I gotta learn how to read now.
No, and that's part of the point of this. Let me give you an example. I'll finish with this so you understand where this is going, because Frank is giving me the high sign. In 2005, 6, about that, I'm on the internet. I'll give you an example. Here comes, we had a party, some friends came from around, it's a long story, last Saturday, a lot of close friends from the activists, the revolutionaries back in the 90s. So it was kind of a homecoming of a lot of guys and so on were there, and we're yakking it up and so on. Eric Hofstetter, Eric and Sandy, the Cartridge Family Band, John Denver looking guy, he's there, and I go, well, yeah, you just 3D print this, and you 3D that, and he goes, what? What are you talking about? I go, well, when you do the 3D, he goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. I go, you never heard of 3D printing?
I'm still confused on that.
And he goes, no. And I go, oh, come on in here. I'll show you a couple of things. I'm going to explain this to you. You're not even freaking going to believe it, okay? Write down 3D printers. Do a YouTube on 3D printing. Once you go down that rabbit hole, you're going to be freaking shocked, all right? In 2005, 6, around in there was a 15-year-old homeschool kid in his parents' basement. And he took an inkjet laser printer, okay? And he took that and he put polymers in there in place of the ink. Then he wrote a 3D program on his computer. So it didn't just go back and forth and go forward with the thing. It went back and forth and front and back. And I think this was just went back and forth. Now he had a table, that either the head could go up or the table can go down. Now, there's different versions that they have now, but this is what he did. He sold the service of rapid prototyping. Normally, when you want to make a new invention, whiz, gadget, whatever, a cup, anything that's complicated, the shell, anything, okay? You have to get a mold that you'll see the little, seams that are in there. You go, injection mold, and it comes out, or you got to buy to have $8,000 to do a little mold or something like that to make your first part. You send me the drawings or the CAD system, whatever. He puts it into his computer and it prints it out. And this is how it does it. It's like a replicator on Star Trek. The ink that comes out is a polymer, and the laser kind of melts it and it hardens. Sometimes they use a bed of plastic, like a white sandbox, and it goes zzz, and the laser hardens it. Then it has a scraper, and it scrapes another thin layer of plastic on it. Zzz, it does it again. Okay, so you 3D print this up. Let me tell you how intricate this has got. They took a video camera. Let me see your video camera. They did this just as a demonstration. They could do wrenches. They could do this right here. Okay, this is what they did. They set it on a table, they scanned it in with a laser, took a photograph of it, 3D, then they printed an exact duplicate in color. Oh, it gets better than that. The screen on the video camera had an image on it. You could see the image in the duplicate that they printed. They did a complicated gear thing, like a Robex cube, like a Robex, or one of my favorites is a gear. You ever see bearings? They have the outside race, ball bearings inside, and then an inner race, and it turns. You got a gear. They printed out, tapped it, it worked. Ball bearings and everything. That's how fine they can do the printing. Oh, and they added color. So you got different. Each bearing could be a different color. 3D printing has been going on for about 7-8 years, started with Linux open source software, and the companies that are making the big industrial printers now are using the software that 15-year-old kids did 7 years ago. That's open source. And if we do this with the energy and all the stuff that we're doing, growing on nanotubes, and it's the idea, it's the concept, it's the way of doing it. It's not the old school where you're hired by a company or they buy your patent and they pull Tesla into Westinghouse and they do whatever, and this guy buys that and stops it and you can't do it. Everybody knows how to do it and nothing stops it. No, Ernie is not going to be in commercial production of this. What is my goal? Not to be wealthy, stinking, rich, and having patent and government permission to protect my intellectual property, whatever, that I don't believe in anyway. My goal is what? In the future, Ernie's got electrons, and this is how I'm doing it.
Ernie, any announcements?
Pat has an announcement.
Real briefly, folks, on Tuesday, September the 11th, the ASU chapter of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth is going to be showing a movie. It's called Expert Speak Out. I saw a 2-hour version many months ago. It's great. They've cut it down to about an hour. If you're interested, just go on the web and look up Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, and then go to the ASU movie.
I just did a native movie called Operation Terror. His name is Art Olivier, which was the VP candidate for the Libertarians in 2000 with Harry Brown. He did a dramatization, a movie of 9/11 with all of the issues and quotes and everything dramatized as the characters actually saying them. And the movie, I watched part of it, and I hopefully get to it this weekend. I go, oh, they don't want this one out. And he funded it himself, $100,000 to make this movie, because a lot of volunteers and CG and all this kind of stuff. And I could see what the future's coming. There was another movie called Iron Sky about in 1945 the Nazis went to the dark side of the moon and been hiding out to come get us 70 years later or whatever. Okay? This movie, I watched it was all open source, like what I'm talking about. It was like a Transformer movie. This thing was awesome. I really liked it. And the best part at the end with the big Uber machine, Dean fell asleep. But anyway, he went to
Ernie, what was the name of this first movie you mentioned? When's it coming out?
Operation Terror, and it releases September 11th.
How appropriate.
I mean, is it going to be in theaters on the web, or?
It's you can get it, the DVD you can purchase. It's being released at art theaters around the country, most notably in California. And we're looking, if it wasn't for Gage and those guys, Don and I were going to put it at the Harkins and the Valley Art Theater and try and get something, but I didn't want to compete with your guys' stuff.
Okay, any more announcements?
Yes. Real quickly, all you probably already know, I'm running for county attorney. Those of you who claim to believe in liberty, you have no excuse in this race. There's two candidates. You don't have the excuse of, well, if I vote for the libertarian, then the bad guy may win. Well, there is no third person running. It's me and the bad guy. So you get to choose.
Which bad
Vote
guy?
for me, or you can vote for the bad guy.
Which bad guy? I already know who's running.
Bill Montgomery.
Bad guy.
So you have no excuse. It's a two-way race. I've got some flyers I've distributed. Please do what you can, spread the word. You can vote for the statist, or you can choose not to vote, or you can vote for the libertarian. Those of you that vote, help me out, spread the word. I am, again, everything that Marc Victor said, I'm right on board with that. I am one of the few guys that's going to be able to say, I am for freedom, I am for just leave everybody alone. And once I'm elected county attorney, you'll see that in action. And I guarantee you, there will be something to see.
Powell, you want to do any electioneering? Powell? You want to do any electioneering?
Yeah, he's thinking.
Not really. I will. I'm running for U.S. House of Representatives, District 9, the new district.
Yeah.
My opponents will be Christian Cinema. And Vernon Parker, who's a black Republican from Paradise Valley. And I was stunned he won. Same thing, which is fine. I was pleased at both choices.
All right.
Awesome, man.
I just like,
Vernon Parker.
now, anyway, anybody who signed my nomination signatures, which really didn't work out very well for me, but thank you. And anybody who actually wrote in my name as a write-in candidate, I thank you. There's 109 write-ins cast in this thing. We won't know whether or not I made the thing until whatever, but I'm assuming I will get 18 of the 109 at least, which is what I need to be a write-in candidate on the, or be a candidate on the general ballot. And so I'd just like to say thank you for those that have helped. And I won't ask for your vote because I don't want you to vote.
That's my district, Powell. Anything that I need to do to help you out there?
You got a wallet on you?
There you go. Boy, he's a politician, isn't he?
We're going to get a lot of opportunities with the lfactor.org. That's where we can really, kind of easily, cheaply have an impact. So we're working on that now.
Okay, this is the drawing for the books back there in the corner. First ticket. If I grade it here, 3098. 3098. No?
Gotta be here to win.
3075. 3075. There you go. Hey. First choice of the books back there in the corner. Maybe Mom and Dad ought to help you back there. 3100. Do we have a 3100? Okay. I'll draw one more here, just for the person who wasn't here. 3087. Wow. 3087. Okay, that's it for today. I hope everybody had fun. We're 3 times smarter than we were before we got here today. And we'll see you next month, first Saturday in the month.
Anybody wants Johnson materials, we got yard signs, we got Gary Johnson yard signs.